Alice, you know what I hate more than a rare New England nor'easter that brings more rain than expected?
What do you hate more than that?
A summer unexpected nor'easter that happens overnight while I'm sleeping. I don't like that crap. I want all the excitement while I'm awake. Let's go. I just saw red right now that there was one last night. Come on, man. I want the extreme weather. I'm in it for the extreme weather.
I don't know if that much stuff really happened in this nor'easter. I don't really believe in it.
Is that somebody knocking on our door?
I didn't hear anything.
Pepper, go down. Go downstairs. Check it out. Do a dog thing.
I don't really want her to pull out all the cords on her way out of the room.
So, Alice, a little piece of history for you.
Okay.
3 men who have been charged in the 2018 prison killing of notorious gangster Whitey Bulger.
Yeah.
They've been indicted in the beating of Whitey Bulger.
Mm-hmm.
3 indicted in fatal prison beating. A prison guard found Bulger's body in his cell less than 12 hours after he arrived at the U.S. Penitentiary in Hazleton, West Virginia.
Right.
In a transfer from the penitentiary from Florida. Photos GS 55 Paul DiColagero 48 and Sean McKinnon 36. They were charged Wednesday with conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Prison guard found Bulger's body in the cell on October 30th. There, according to the statement, GS and DiColagero were accused of striking Bulger in the head multiple times, allegedly killing him. They were also charged with aiding and abetting first-degree murder and assault resulting in serious bodily injury, the statement said. McKinnon was also accused of making false statements to a federal agent, according to a statement.
Okay.
So, in related Shattuck news, of course, we lived in Melrose, where Whitey Bulger dropped off his car at the Roosevelt School in whatever 1950 or whatever it was, the one that got him sent to Alcatraz. He dropped off his car after a robbery, and this guy DiColagero, Alice,
Okay.
one of the guys who killed him brutally,
Yes.
is a graduate of Winchester High School.
Wow.
Absolutely. That's right. 2 years after me. He was part of the Collegero. I mean, who would know? A kid walking around a Winchester High School with pegged pants probably was a fan of Vanilla Ice at that moment.
What year did he graduate Winchester High School?
93, so I was 91.
So like the same time as you.
Yeah.
And then he went and murdered Whitey Bulger.
Well, listen to how badass this guy was. Authorities have identified second suspect is 44-year-old Paul J. DiColagero, allegedly killed Bulger with his buddy. He was part of the Life as a member of his Uncle Paul's North Shore crew, which was part of New England's patriarchal crime family. They were heavily involved in narcotics and are known to rob and kidnap rival drug dealers in the mid-90s.
Is that is he any relation? Wasn't one of Whitey Bulger's victims also from Winchester?
Yeah,
Didn't we
there's
talk
a
about
lot
this, or is there no relation to that guy?
There's a couple of victims. It's a whole. We could do a whole show on it. Some of the nouveau riche moved into Winchester, and actually the guy with the highlight was too. But a couple of people were over on that side of town, the rich side of town. I was on the poor side of town where we lived clean, but at least we could live honest lives. Their violent capabilities were on full display in the gruesome murder of 19-year-old Aislinn Silva. In 1996, the crew feared the young woman might cooperate with law enforcement and decided to kill her. 1996, 23 years old, like fairly advanced badass,
I don't know if badass is exactly the word I would use.
No, I'm saying like really bad. I'm not saying like cool bad. I mean that's like if it's 1996, you're like talking about the monkey no longer being on Friends. That's what some of us were doing. The plan was to give the girl an overdose of high-grade heroin without her knowing. DiColagero would sell it to her as cocaine, not the kind of master plan the mafia is known for, of course. No surprise it didn't work. Another mobster had to step in and break the woman's neck. He dismembered her body in the bathtub and placed the pieces of her corpse in the woods. The heinous criminal act was DiColagero, because she was going to testify. DiColagero was busted for witness tampering and this and that. So there you go, Alice. Not only that, but you got the guy who was on the pirate ship that got the captain.
Mm-hmm. The Tom Hanks.
You're right. Exactly. My goodness. What a place. What a place. And actually, I just saw this thing with this guy I went to high school with. He was older than me, named Reggie Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loved him. Very popular guy. And I just saw a picture of him with this other dude, like in their 20s, hanging out having a beer. And it was Glenn Doherty.
Oh, wow.
But just like wasn't any picture you've seen before. It was just two guys having a beer.
Right.
So very interesting. So that does it for me today, Alice. What's going on for you?
You're done with the show now? You've signed off? It's not my show?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the big news sort of today is that this judge in Florida has said that he wants the affidavit unsealed in the Trump case. Maybe not for sure. He's willing to listen to the government's arguments on it, but he wants them to bring in a redacted version with like whatever it is that they think needs to be redacted so badly, redacted so that they can unseal the rest of it. So that should be an interesting development. I mean, I don't have really high expectations for how redacted it's going to be and like how much information is actually going to be there. But certainly that should give us some more information about like what exactly the probable cause was supposed to be here that allowed them to go into Mar-a-Lago like this. I don't know what's going to happen with this case, but I think it's pretty clear to everyone that it's like a total political hit job on Trump. So the more information we can get about it, obviously, the better at that point. The other thing everybody's kind of talking about is this Sam Harris thing.
Mm-hmm. Let me grab that.
It is in our chat. But basically it's Sam Harris saying it was like worth it to black out the Hunter Biden laptop stuff if it helped Biden win the election. So, and then he like tweeted a thread about it too that like didn't make it better, which is interesting. I mean, not
Hunter Biden at that point. Hunter Biden literally could have had the corpses of children in his basement. I would not have cared, right? It's like there's nothing. First of all, it's Hunter Biden, right? It's not Joe Biden, but even if whatever scope of Joe Biden's corruption is, like if we could just go down that rabbit hole endlessly and understand that he's getting kickbacks from Hunter Biden's deals in Ukraine or wherever else, right, or China, it is infinitesimal compared to the corruption we know Trump is involved in. It's like a firefly to the sun, right? I mean, like there's just. It doesn't even stack up against Trump University, right? Trump University as a story.
So that is an absurd thing that he said, and also like it's not the corruption he knows Trump's involved in; it's the corruption he assumes and he's letting wash over him. So now I give Sam Harris a pass for this because he has admitted now for really 4 years straight that he has a derangement syndrome, that Trump is inside his brain, that he obsesses about it, he can't stop thinking about it. So he's admitted. I mean, for him to try to rationalize it as anything more than hysteria and a problem in his own brain is probably not good because people consider him a factual guy. But he has been saying this crap for years. It's always been
right.
like my brother and I, when we talk about Sam Harris, it's always the same thing. It's like he has to stay away from the Trump stuff or else he starts to get very emotional and he loses credibility. It's uncomfortable to hear.
So I'm like really not that into Sam Harris, but it seems like he's been a character in this sort of IDW intellectual dark web universe for a while. And so like he has the same type of people liking him as like, I don't know, Dave Rubin or other people that have sort of like been canceled by the left but are really leftists but are more critical of where the left has gone in recent years. But like I just don't get it. Like what's the appeal of him? Like what does he say and talk about that's so great that like it excuses the fact that he like can't wrap his brain around the whole Trump thing at all?
Well, so he's a free speech guy, and he has had big debates with a lot of people, real debates about free speech. So he's had stuff with Ezra Klein, etc. He's had some brilliant stuff. So other than the fact that his mind is damaged by Trump, he's great. It's just that one thing.
If you're saying it's fine for the social media,
the original thing was with Harris was was this Bill Maher. He was the other guy on the other side of the desk with Ben Affleck.
So the other thing we want to talk about, of course, is that you and I have been trying to make the
Sam
case,
Harris and
I
Bill Maher.
think, I have anyway, that
7 years ago.
liberals need to stand up for
Or 8
liberal
now.
principles. This is what I said on last week's show. Obviously, I got a lot of hate for it, but all I'm saying is that liberal principles like freedom of speech, freedom to practice any religion you want without fear of violence, freedom to leave a religion, equality for women, equality for minorities, including homosexuals. These are liberal principles that liberals applaud for, but then when you say in the Muslim world this is what's lacking, then they get upset.
Yeah. Well, liberals have really failed on the topic of theocracy. They'll criticize white theocracy. They'll criticize Christians. They'll still get agitated over the abortion clinic bombing that happened in 1984. But when you want to talk about the treatment of women and homosexuals and free thinkers and public intellectuals in the Muslim world, I would argue that liberals have failed us. And the crucial point of confusion, thank you.
Thank God you're here.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So that's Affleck who just shot out. Thank God you're here. He's getting angry because Harris is singling out Muslims. Affleck is starting to boil over, sitting there, and he has trouble containing himself.
Confusion is that we have been sold this meme of Islamophobia, where every criticism of the doctrine of Islam gets conflated with bigotry toward Muslims as people.
Right.
And that is it's intellectually ridiculous. Even it gets.
So hold on,
conflated
are
with
you
racism.
the person who understands the officially codified doctrine of Islam? You're the interpreter of that, so you can say, well, this is...
I'm actually well educated on this topic.
I'm asking you. So you're saying if I criticize you're saying that Islamophobia is not a real thing. That if you're critical of something...
Well, it's not a real thing when we do it.
Right.
Well, no,
It really isn't.
I'm not denying that certain people are bigoted against Muslims as people. And that's a problem.
Big of you.
But
But why are you so hostile about this
It's
concept?
gross. It's racist.
It's not. But it's so not.
It's like saying
It's
those
so not.
stateless, shifty Jew.
You're not listening
Absolutely
to
not.
what we are saying.
You guys are saying if you want to be liberals, believe in liberal principles like
Right.
freedom of speech, like
Right.
we are endowed by our forefathers with an inalienable rights, like all men are created equal.
Ben, we have to be able to criticize bad ideas. And
Ben, it's a tough thing when you're a pseudo-intellectual. It is a tough thing. Damon does it too.
Well,
They
yeah.
both. I don't know. They must. Did they go to the college in Cambridge where the Unabomber
I thought they
went?
went to the
high school. in
good
Cambridge?
high school in Cambridge.
Yeah, where the Unabomber went, right?
Is it Cambridge Range and Latin? Is that what they
Yes.
went to? Okay.
But
Put 4 million people.
We're not convincing anybody.
It's not this. I'm specifically
Okay.
telling you that I disagree with what you think.
don't actually
I know,
understand my
and
argument.
we're obviously not
I
convincing
don't understand
anybody
it.
of you.
if you don't understand my argument,
you know,
well,
Your argument
then
is
have an
like,
agreement.
black people, they show each
No,
other.
it's
That is not my argument.
No, it's not. It's based on facts. I can show you a Pew poll of Egyptians. They are not outliers in the Muslim world that say like 90%.
so anyway, that was his ascension, and so that got people to notice him. Then he was on David Rubin shortly after that. And then he became one of those guys who was reasonable and had so many opponents on the left that people on the right just took him in.
Well, right, but how can you be a free speech person and say it's like good that Twitter squashed the Hunter Biden laptop story because it got Joe Biden elected and not Trump?
I know another guy from radio who used to say that Donald Trump should not have free speech. He should not have free speech. No,
But
just
was
no.
he known for being a big free speech activist like
No,
Sam
but-
Harris
but
is?
with
Like,
the-
I find that odd.
No, but they're both sick in the head. They have a disease here that has to do with Trump, and they can't. It makes them irrational.
But so are you saying that, like, it's just purely a Trump thing? And, like, if the Republicans nominate DeSantis and DeSantis is for free speech, Sam Harris is going to be fine with that? Or is it going to something that's going to extend to more Republicans than just Trump, actually?
With him, I've only noticed it with Trump, and I think it's almost like an OCD thing, where what OCD used to be before everybody had it, where you couldn't leave the room without flicking the light switch 183 times. That he can't. It's involuntary. What happens now? He's emotionally overloaded when Trump is mentioned.
Yeah, I just sometimes feel like the right gives people on the left so much credit. And I mean, like, we obviously should give credit to people where it's due, like Bill Maher and Sam Harris or whoever is, these like new type of liberals, or I guess they're describing themselves as the old type of liberals. But whatever you're calling it, I feel like sometimes the right gives them so much credit for like the bare minimum, stating the like super obvious on the really easy cases, like Bill Maher saying like, it seems odd that like 1 out of every 3 children in California is now trans or whatever. Like, just for like noticing the most egregious things that the left does, we're like, wow, now you're our ally. And like, this group of people is like not actually allies with anything the right believes at the end of the day. So yeah, like politics makes strange bedfellows, right? Like they'll unite against the absolute most egregious, insane things that the left does, but they're not really on your side at the end of the day. And they're not on your side to the point where it's like, you know, I think too about like Salman Rushdie, right? And like Salman Rushdie is a hero of free speech and like a fantastic writer, an incredibly talented guy who has like stood up against this really radical ideology and can recognize that it's terrible. But like ultimately at the end of the day, like he's still a really big liberal. Like he still actually hates all the conservatives. Like we can, you know, feel for him. Like I admire him a lot, actually, in a lot of ways, but like he would actually hate my guts, probably, you know, at the end of the day. Like he's for his free speech, but I don't know like how far it really extends with some of these like left-wing classical liberal intellectuals. Like I think they actually hate a lot of people on the right. Yeah. Even though like the right gives them so much props, the right has really, in my view, made Sam Harris's career.
Oh, totally.
Story is worse than anything that could be in Hunter Biden's laptop, in my view, right? Now, that doesn't answer the people who say it's still completely unfair to not have looked at the laptop in a timely way and to have shut down the New York Post's Twitter account. Like that's just a conspiracy. That's a left-wing conspiracy to deny the presidency to Donald Trump. Absolutely, it was. Absolutely, right? But I think it was warranted. Right, and again, it's a coin toss as to whether or not
Sam, I'm sorry.
That particular piece.
I'm really sorry. I was the one that said we should move on, but you've just said
it.
something I really struggle with there, which is
the kids in the basement.
Fuck the kids in the basement. I'm interested in democracy. You're saying you are content with a left-wing conspiracy to prevent somebody being democratically re-elected as president.
Well, no, I'm content. Well, but the thing is, it's just not left wing, right? So Liz Cheney is not left wing, right? Liz Cheney is doing everything in her power.
You're content with a conspiracy to prevent somebody being democratically elected.
But there's nothing conspiracy. It's not. It was a conspiracy out in the open. But it doesn't matter if it was. It doesn't matter what part's conspiracy, what part's out in the open. I mean, I think it's like if people get together and talk about what should we do about this phenomenon. You know, if it's like if there was an asteroid hurtling toward Earth. And we got in a room together with all of our friends and had a conversation about what we could do to deflect its course, right? Is that a conspiracy? You know, like some of.
So, see, it's good to stop Donald Trump being elected by stopping the New York Post from. It's just like an asteroid. It's the same thing.
You know what?
It's good when we do it.
Alice, anytime you can capture a live one like this that we've got, then I think it's good to study. I think it's good because at least he's admitting it. Just cause I hate him. Just cause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's like, I don't know how you can make your career on saying like conservatives need free speech too, or like I agree with conservatives on certain issues when it comes to Islamophobia or whatever, but and then say stuff like that, because really, like, what is classically liberal about that, right? And I'm not even like necessarily a classical liberalism absolutist. It's not really my thing. I'm more of like a true conservative. But I find this to be such a disconnect between this statement that he's made and the persona that he's crafted for himself in the media and the type of fans that he has and the type of people that I know who listen to him. It seems to be totally at odds with each other. So then he came out with this statement today. I don't know if you saw this. This was just a couple hours ago. He said,
"No.
There's a podcast clip circulating that seems to be confusing many people about my views on Trump, which is understandable because I wasn't speaking very clearly. So for what it's worth, here's what I was trying to say. I was essentially arguing for a principle of self-defense where there is a continuum of proportionate force that's appropriate and necessary to use. I've always viewed Trump as a very dangerous person to elect as president of a fake university, let alone the U.S., and when he became a sitting president who would not commit to a peaceful transfer of power, I viewed him as more dangerous still. However, I've never been under any illusion that he is Orange Hitler. No, he's just an asteroid hurtling toward Earth, I guess. On the podcast, I was speaking narrowly about the wisdom and propriety of ignoring the Hunter Biden laptop story until after the election. I've always thought this was a very hard call ethically and journalistically, but given what happened with the Anthony Weiner laptop in the previous election, I think it was probably the right call. Nothing I said on the podcast was meant to suggest that the Democrats would have been right to commit election fraud or to take other illegal measures to deny Trump the presidency, nor do I think that they did that.
Well, there you go.
Well, I mean, and I don't think maybe some people, but I don't think most people argue that, for example, Twitter did something illegal by squashing the Hunter Biden laptop story. I think that, they're a platform. It's perfectly allowed for them to freeze the account of the oldest newspaper in America and just do what they want with it. But I mean, I think that it's not really compatible with principles of free speech in society, right? Like, there's a difference between the First Amendment of the Constitution and having that as a legal right that's delineated in case law, that, like, Twitter is obviously allowed to suspend the New York Post if they want to, but it's just not something that goes with the principles that Sam Harris says he believes in society, right?
Yes.
I mean, Twitter and Facebook, too, they both squashed the story, had more of an impact, frankly, on the 2020 election than Russia did buying some Facebook ads in Wisconsin in the 2016 election. Easily. And, the left is still crying about that. So I don't understand why we're going to allow Twitter and Facebook, two of the biggest corporations in the company, to just run amok and control the outcomes of elections by not allowing people to see news through the format where people see news. You know what I mean? Like, it's equivalent in my mind to, like, if there were in the 18th century one paper company that sold all the paper to all the newspapers and they refused to sell it to certain newspapers, right? Like,
yeah, no, it was a horrific thing. And it's directly related, as you said, to January 6th. It's directly related. It was an injustice that happened, and there were many of them. And that's why you tell half the country to diffuse itself after you step on them again and again, and the other half you encourage to go out and wreak havoc, which is what all these people have done. Yeah, I don't listen. I don't have the Sam Harris podcast. I don't really listen to it. I've got others, but I do remember him. He's got a weakness. When he used to go on Rogan, he used to talk to Rogan about getting sucked into Twitter battles, etc., and how it was really emotional for him. And Rogan used to say, "You got to step away," but I guess he never did it. I'm more this Stephen King thing has me more upset at the universe.
Yeah, so
this is a bad sign. Stephen King's tweet. This is Stephen King tweeting today. The one show on CNN I never missed was Reliable Sources with Brian Stelter. It has been an invaluable window into how the media covers itself. Today, CNN canceled it. So this goes to show you, much like with Paul Krugman, etc., that these people are brilliant at their thing that they're brilliant at. But otherwise, these are people who are dumb as third graders. They are. in many ways. In some ways you are, in some ways I am. In this way they are, but they've got this esteem because they've got fame and notoriety for something else. Like Krugman probably can do some economy stuff, but he's emotional. He's Sam Harris when it comes to Trump stuff and Republicans, and so he loses it, but he uses the power of his credentials and his resume to bring credibility to what he says, so it inflates it, but it's just insane rantings. This is an insane ranting for Stephen King to say this. It just shows wow, you're that stupid all the time. You're not writing novels about clowns. But he is. He's a dumb, and that's just fine. And Stelter is gone. And And I'm going to play a little bit of this montage to celebrate him, Allison.
American trust in the mass media is at its lowest point since 2016 and near a record low overall.
Jeff Zucker has announced his immediate resignation as the president of CNN. This comes amid an investigation into what Jeff Zucker calls a consensual relationship.
What happened and where CNN goes from here?
You were caught masturbating on camera. You since then have been on leave from CNN. Do I have all that right?
You got it all right, sad to say.
The biggest media story this weekend, it's the firing of Chris Cuomo from this network, CNN. Late Wednesday, a lawyer contacted CNN with a sexual misconduct complaint about Cuomo.
Joining me now, the man who accused Don Lemon of sexual assault. His accuser claims Lemon started rubbing himself.
But the even bigger point, I think, is about what the press is. Is it produced by reporters or by repeaters? Repeaters are the talk radio shouters. They're on TV and radio telling the same story every day. President Trump.
President Trump. President Trump. Trump.
Trump.
Trump. Trump.
Trump.
Trump.
Trump.
Trump.
Trump.
Trump.
Trump.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Telling the same story every day.
Repeaters are Twitter trolls who anonymously amplify propaganda.
Anyway, you get it, right? So there you go. Voila. Voila.
Yeah, Brian Stelter is not an extremely serious person. We've known that for a long time. I think the writing was always on the wall ever since CNN got taken over and there were all these rumors swirling. They wanted to go to hard news. I think Brian Stelter, who takes the Avenatti seriously as a presidential candidate and asks Jen Psaki how the media can cover her better, is, he's obviously got to be next on the chopping block. So, I mean, everyone knew it was coming. I honestly hadn't seen a single person on Twitter who seemed upset that the show was canceled until I saw the Stephen King tweet. I was kind of wondering to myself, is anyone actually sad? Did anyone watch this show religiously and they're upset that it's going away? I don't think, because everyone on Twitter was either apathetic or happy that Brian Stelter's show was going away, but I guess Stephen King's the one. He's the one viewer of reliable sources. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how anyone could watch that show and take it seriously, much less call it an invaluable window into how the media covers itself. It wasn't invaluable in any way whatsoever.
No, it was rubbish. But Alice, you know how I had a love affair with that Mother Road?
Yeah.
Right? Are you familiar with this? Mm-hmm. It was something I called Route 66.
Mother Road.
Yes.
Well, and then I got badgered from certain corners, and then I moved off the Mother Road. Remember where I moved to?
To the Borscht Belt.
Exactly. The Jewish Riviera, the Jewish Disneyland. And remember we saw that whole thing on Grossinger's. Grossinger's was the big hotel, and the Catskills Resort Hotel Grossinger's has burned down, which sucks. The building on the Grossinger's Catskill Hotel, which is a whole thing on just Grossinger's. It's awesome, and all the food and all the sour cream, and God, it makes me want to be there. A building on the Grossinger's Catskill Resort Hotel site, once one of the most prominent resorts in the area, burned down Tuesday after years of abandonment. It's so heartbreaking, and there were all sorts of celebrities there. The former resort is about 80 miles north of New York City. The 812-acre property was once a go-to summer spot for New Yorkers as well as top entertainers, stage for Hollywood stars including Eddie Fisher, Joel Grey, and Leslie Uggams. The hotel had also been cited as inspiration for the 1987 classic Dirty Dancing. Oh, man. This isn't right. Grossinger's, Alice. This is part of my heritage. Gone. Yes.
Wow.
I missed the Mother Road. I missed the Catskills.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what
Poor
to do
you.
anymore.
Poor you.
I just don't know what to do anymore.
So, then this other story that I happened across today that just honestly made me sad. I hesitate to even bring it up. Is this thing where, I mostly consider COVID over. Do you?
Yeah, of course it is.
I don't do any COVID restrictions or anything. But CNN had this just heart-wrenching story about this kid who was shot in the July 4th mass shooting in Illinois. Mm-hmm. And and he's paralyzed. He's in the hospital. He's still going to be in the hospital for weeks. He's 8 years old, and his family can visit him once a week for a short period of time because of COVID-19 rules in the hospital.
Obviously, that's ridiculous.
So
sick
the
child abuse.
hospital is holding an 8-year-old boy there on his own and only letting his family visit him once a week. A little boy who's paralyzed. His life is, irrevocably changed, and he can only see his family once a week. What kind of sick, twisted hospital policy is that? What kind of sickos came up with that and are still following it? It's not because of COVID, obviously. How many cases of COVID does that hospital have right now? There's no COVID. That's ridiculous. Let the kid see his family. I don't understand why any place still has any COVID restriction, much less why you're stopping an 8-year-old boy who's paralyzed from seeing his family. To do that, you have to be really insanely screwed up. And I know that we're in a period where people don't like to criticize hospitals because then they get harassed and it's stochastic terrorism. But somebody needs to stochastic terrorism that hospital until they change that stupid COVID policy, because it's cruel. It's cruel. And if they're doing it to that 8-year-old boy who's in the news because he was part of an event that was newsworthy, how many other people are they doing it to that have cancer or have whatever? I mean, I knew someone in a different state that had cancer last year and could only have somebody drop her off outside. Nobody could be inside with her when she was getting chemotherapy and all this stuff. And this was last year when COVID was more of a thing. But how many places are still doing this? It is freaking sick. And it's only happening because the hospitals just don't like visitors, and it's a hassle for them. It's easier for them to do their job, without distraction if nobody's traipsing in and out of the hospital. But it's absolutely unjustifiable now at this point, and it needs to stop. It should be, I need President DeSantis to make it illegal for hospitals to deny people visitors when they're sick and dying or going through immensely traumatic medical events. It's insanity to me that they're continuing to do this.
I mean, for Rochelle Walensky to say that, we're going to do a full review and we're going to change everything. No, she needs to be waxed. Everybody involved in these decisions needs to be. Everything in 2020 was done horribly. Everything needs to be undone. Control+Z 2020. That's what we need to do.
Right.
Immediately.
I mean, there's still places, honestly, and this is an obviously much less serious problem than the hospital policies that are still so insanely screwed up. But even when you go to stores, there's still the plastic guards in front of the registers, lots of places. I was at a CVS the other day, and the girl had so much trouble ringing up my stuff because I had something that was kind of big, and she couldn't get it through the little hole that was in her plastic guard to scan it. And so it was this whole thing. Why is any of this still happening? First of all, the plastic guard things were always stupid. The little plexiglass things. They don't do anything. They've always been dumb. But why are they still here? And this is the problem, is that it's like the 9/11 stuff. We still can't bring things over 2 ounces of liquid onto planes. We're still doing this. It's more than 20 years later, and it doesn't do anything.
Right.
But we all still just do it because, and that's always been the problem with this stupid COVID stuff, is not that it might not have been justified at one point briefly during the pandemic, but that everything that they come up with just stays forever now. Every dumb, cruel hospital policy, every stupid plexiglass barrier.
And that's where you need real leaders, because they're for an abundance of caution just going to say, yeah, okay,
might
4
as
more
well.
weeks, 8 more weeks, yeah, 5 more. I'd like to see the test scores. I had the Connecticut Weasel senators saying the other day, we'd like to see the testing get a little bit more, and then we can talk about opening up schools. Then we'll talk about opening up. F you.
The whole thing needs to be dismantled. Like you said, anything that happens in 2020 needs to go away forever.
Yes, including all the George Floyd horse bleep, all this stupid repolicing thing. It's not my fault that nobody knew anything about incursions with police officers in blacks versus whites versus Hispanics, etc. It's not my fault that nobody studied it before that and only saw one video and said, "Oh my God," because they're the freaking Stephen King to Brian Seltzer, situation where, oh, wow. And reliable sources told me this was important, so, well, there you go. Absolute horse bleep. Horse bleep. Ready for some chat?
Do we have chat today?
We've got 4.
By the way, before we hit chat, a lot of rumblings on social media about your hints about 3 days a week.
Yes. 3 days a week, I love you. 3 days a week is not enough to show I care. Ooh,
a lot of people seem to feel that 3 days a week is not enough to show we care. So
hope you need my love, babe, just like I need you. Oh, hold me, love me, hold me, love me.
So,
I ain't got nothing but love.
Maybe we'll
babe.
let the listeners
3
who are left who
days a
haven't
week.
turned off the podcast now hear the chat.
Oh, should I grab that cord generator that I had yesterday on the Patreon? Hey, by the way, all you need, just think if the Beatles' entire catalog was just that stuff from 65 or 64, whatever 8 days a week came, that would be all you need. I need is 1 year's of Beatles. They were so good. All right, so 3 of these are tagged anonymous. 1 is tagged Lionheart. There's a chance these are all Justin, or 1 is Justin, or none are Justin, or some are Sully, and some are could be Leslie, it could be Danny, could be anybody.
Stephen Merrimack.
Lionheart, I bet it's Justin because it's that's what I bet.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
There we go.
Tom, if you liked Mulholland Drive,
oh yeah,
you are gonna love Blue is the Warmest Color, which won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. I've seen it, and it's pretty much indistinguishable from an X-rated movie. Okay?
Ooh.
Highest recommendation. Thank you.
Steve is now my ally, Alice. We have allied against you, by the way. It's called Blue is the what?
Blue is the warmest color? Is that what he said? I
Blue
have
is
not
the
heard of
warmest
that.
color.
I've heard of Mulholland Drive, but I don't really know what it is.
All right. Blue is the warmest color. Let's see.
What year is it from?
She's got blue hair, so it must be recently. Oh, Sundance selects. It looks like it would have won a Palme d'Or. Ooh. 2 ladies just said hello and caught each other's sights. Blue is the warmest color. It says magnificent. Just get to the... Okay. Oh, wow. I'll be looking at this piece, Alice.
Good. I'm happy for you.
It's won several global international awards, Alice.
Wow.
Grow up. Thank you very much. I will take that, Steve. I appreciate that.
Hey, Tom. Oh, Lionheart's on. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but never bet against Lionheart. Never bet against him. I would definitely not put my money on Attila.
Is Lionheart the thing with Matthew Broderick?
I don't know what it is.
Or is it a Van Damme thing? It might be a Van Damme thing. It's Van Damme, yeah. Not for me, really. There was this thing with Broderick and Sean Connery that has an important scene in it, we'll just say. Okay. Stellar chats today, Alice. Stellar.
Good work, everyone.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
There we go.
I think I tuned into the wrong podcast this morning because what I heard sounded more like Tom Shattuck's Burn Bra podcast.
What?
Jeez, you're down 9 pounds. All of a sudden, you're Betty Friedan. No, when I was young buck of 20, I wanted to be in love. Love, do you hear me? That's why I used to go to the Red Hat and leer at the sexy bartenders 5 nights a week, pounding vodka tonics or whatever the hell you were drinking. Give me a freaking break. When you're down 20, are you going to be Naomi Wolf next? Tom Shattuck's Feminine Mystique podcast. Ay.
Woe betide you. We are now at war, Alice.
I thought you were allies with Steve from Merrimack.
How dare he? By the way, this is what caused the Helen Jamesians to be. It was masochists like that which caused. This is how Garp's mother got shot because haters like him hated the second wave women's feminism, and raised hell and had to take me out because he couldn't silence me and my sisters. Dare he?
Hey, Tom, it's
Yes.
Mike from Newton.
Hey, Mike.
I know you're always looking for little side hustles. You're always complaining about, you have no money.
Correct.
And I was wondering if you guys thought of an additional revenue stream, starting an OnlyFans page with Alice beating you. Just gonna leave that there. You might want to look into that. There's a market for it.
It's not where I thought that was
Mike,
going, but I
you-
like the idea. It's creative.
You know what? Would you be naked in it?
No.
Well, Alice, that's what people want to see.
No. They want to see you get beat up. They don't need me to be naked.
I would, depending how much money we could make, I would do it, depending. Actually, I don't even need anything anymore, as a matter of fact, physically. You could go ahead and wipe me out. Thank you, Mike. That's a great, we're going to talk about Newton sometime, too, by the way. It sounds like a moneyed listener, Alice, like people you grew up with. But, anything else, or just
That's all I have.
Okay. All right, guys. Excellent. Well done. And we are going to be, we'll jet off to Vermont tomorrow. Back Sunday. And thanks. Another great week. Appreciate it. Get those chat messages going.
Yeah, you have a bunch of days to get your chat messages in and things
Thank
about
you.
that.
Believe me. If
Come
you
up
can,
with more OnlyFans ideas that don't involve me being naked.
Yes, they do involve you being naked and doing cocaine.
No,
Alice,
I
yes, they
appreciate
do.
that from Mike and
Cocaine-
Newton. That's
No,
a very
you're
classy OnlyFans idea.
You're going back to 2007, Alice.
No.
Yes, you are. You know what that means.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. As always, I'll try and talk Tom out of his 3 days a week idea. I don't know what else to tell you. You can write us an email, burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com. Leave us a voicemail at the chat. That's at burnbarrelpodcast.com. You can also find all the different places to listen there. You can talk to us on social media, too. We are at
Do you think anybody has ever said... Do you think this part at the end where you pitch everything has ever worked on anybody? You think anybody has said, you know what, I think I'm just about done. I don't think they have any more offerings anywhere else. Wait a second. You don't say. Wait a second. I can get this there? I can do that and this? I'm asking you. You're in the marketing world professionally, Alice.
I think people who are paying attention probably turn it off or skip to the next episode of whatever's on their podcast app. But I also think that a lot of people just let their app run and aren't close enough by it.
So
like you listen to stuff at night and it just rolls and we hear the beginnings and ends of everything and all the ads and everything because nobody's there to skip it. So I think it does happen.
So I had a caller today. He was Mike in Hartford. He's called before, and he called and he said, "Hey Tom, you talk about this and that for people with trans thing. I don't even know what it was." And he said, "But you didn't mention that with COVID that they should have said that fat people should eat less, and that means you, Tom, because you're fat and whatever."
I believe you have said that.
Well, no, I know I have said that. As a matter of fact, I've been pretty mean on the fat stuff. But it's still. But he said, "Oh yeah, and I've been going through your Facebook and noticing." That all the stuff that you eat, you don't mind, shoving stuff in your face, and looking at that, why in your Facebook? I thought, and he said, your wife is much more beautiful. What mental illness could she have that she's even attracted to? And no, and so what I thought, Alice, is and I didn't get to tell him this. I wanted to message him if I could find him. It's what incredible promotion of this social media that is, showing pointing about the foods. It's done in a very viral, very native advertising way.
Yeah.
It's coming up organically as an attack, etc. I thought, Jesus, that's really smart. So there you go. Oh, your speaking part is done?
Yeah. That was all I had.
This goes out to Sam Harris.
2 more hogs got the fever.